The death of Queen Elizabeth II shook the world. But what was her last wish, and was it granted? Though Queen Elizabeth II was 96 years old at the time of her death, it still came as a shock for many. As the longest reigning monarch in British history, she served for 70 years and was the only queen most people knew in their lifetimes. More than that, she was loved, respected, and revered by many around the world.
When you think that in all these years the Queen has been on the throne, that in itself is a huge achievement.
The Queen lived a life of service and dedication, and her accomplishments were impressive. Elizabeth visited over 100 countries, attended over 21,000 royal engagements, and served under more than 50 different ranks and appointments. Her funeral on September 19th was viewed by more than 29 million people in the UK and millions more around the world. And now we are learning more about the one wish the Queen had before she died. We know by now that Queen Elizabeth had a heavy hand in planning her own funeral. One request included having the choir sing Russian Kontakion of the Departed. This song was the last hymn played before the Queen's husband, Prince Philip, was lowered into the vault at his funeral, and Elizabeth requested the same be done as a tribute to her beloved partner. The funeral also gave a subtle nod to a major day in the Queen's life, her wedding. The funeral was chosen to be held at Westminster Abbey, where Elizabeth married Philip in 1947. In another throwback to her wedding, the Queen wanted "The Lord's My Shepherd" sung at her funeral, which was also played when she married Philip. And while she planned these personal touches to honour her husband, Elizabeth also had one final wish for herself. Some think Queen Elizabeth's funeral was more about the people she left behind than herself. As royal biographer Penny Junor tells People magazine, she wouldn't have wanted that pomp and ceremony for herself, but she recognised the role she played. Even in death, she was still serving. Though the Queen's funeral was filled with tradition, the monarch had one simple request, which was also her final wish. Elizabeth wanted to be buried next to her parents. Historian Robert Hardman told People she had no wish to see a statue of herself or to even have a separate burial chamber within St. George's Chapel. Elizabeth got her wish, of course. She was buried in King George VI Memorial Chapel at Windsor Castle, beside her father, her mother, her sister, and her husband. That's not all, though. Royal insiders say that, at the end of her life, the Queen also wished that her family would make up. She was well aware of the strife between Prince Harry and Prince William, and she reportedly wanted it to come to an end. William and Harry did briefly reunite around the time of the funeral in order to show a united front as they greeted mourners at Windsor Castle. However, there has been no word on whether there are any further plans for the brothers to meet again. Page 6 reports that Harry and Meghan flew back home to California the day after the Queen's funeral to reunite with their 2 children, having been apart for 17 days. Apparently, Meghan requested a private meeting with her father-in-law, King Charles III, before returning home, but was denied that privilege.